This is the intro for the Nellie Clay concert, which is a fundraiser for the Greenwood Cultural Center. And the concert is tomorrow, Saturday. Starts at 5:30 p.m. on the West Coast, and that's 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast, and whatever your time zone is in between, join us at that time. So I previously made a video describing the excellent work that the Greenwood Cultural Center, the GCC, does. If you haven't seen that, find that. I'm going to include it in the comments here or in the description. Learn about what they do, and then find the payment link for the concert and make a donation. Please do that. You don't have to attend the concert to make a donation. And since we're doing this online, please share this with anyone you know in the United States or outside the United States who you think might want to contribute to the GCC. And also encourage them to come to the concert. And I'll tell you why I think it's a good time to come to a Nellie Clay concert. So firstly, it's especially important for us to support the GCC and Nellie right now because next weekend is on June 19th. That's Juneteenth. And for people who don't understand the significance of that date, in 1865 on June 19th was the day Texas, which was the last Confederate state to do so, announced the Emancipation Proclamation and freed their slaves. So that was the last in the country. That's when slavery ended, and so that's a time of our second Independence Day and why we celebrate that day. And of all days, the orange one has decided to hold a campaign event in Tulsa, of all places, where the Greenwood Cultural Center is. So Nellie will be driving up from Okemah, and folks from the GCC, no doubt, will be participating in a peace rally that has the title, Hate Has No Home Here. So if you're learning about this in Tulsa, be ready to go out on June 19th and be a show of force for all of us who can't be there to speak against the wake of hate that comes everywhere and racism everywhere where Trump is. Just hold up signs and hold up for us. So I'm going to send you a rum cake, people at the Greenwood Cultural Center. I'm going to send it out on Monday. It'll get there probably Wednesday or something like that. You'll have it in time to fuel up for June 19th, and you can be part of our tradition, and I'll explain that in a minute. As I've been looking at the images coming in around the country, they have been both simultaneously heartbreaking and inspiring, and they remind me so much of the images I saw and the things I saw 4 years ago at Standing Rock. Violence from militarized police, I hadn't really seen that the way it showed up in Standing Rock, where you had peacefully protesting unarmed elders and armored tanks and body armor and concussion grenades and rubber bullets and attack dogs and tear gas. And we're seeing some of that all over the country. So I feel like the whole country is getting a taste of what Standing Rock was like 4 years ago. Also, all the allies showing up, they give me so much hope. And that's the same way it was at Standing Rock. But now I feel like it's all over the whole country. And I think there are important lessons to learn from Standing Rock. So one of those is, this is not just a weekend or two and then you put your sign down. We have to be relentless about making the status quo uncomfortable so we can enact change. That's one important thing. And for example, at Standing Rock, that was 11 months at the pipeline, and it culminated in 15,000 people amassed in a North Dakota December winter. It was 24 below and there were 15,000 people there. That was the 10th biggest city in North Dakota at the time, and that was after 11 months. So we need to be ready and keep showing up. And so we need to take care of ourselves so we can do that. The second lesson is we need to use the systems available to us and work within them. We need to serve on city councils. We need to run for office, and we need to support the people in the courtroom who are making the good fight. And that paid off in Standing Rock. I don't know if people noticed this, but in March, a federal court passed down a decision that the pipeline permits are null and void. They were invalid because they really didn't do an adequate job assessing the environmental impact. So after the 11 months, Obama felt like he was forced to say there has to be an environmental impact statement prepared. Trump expunged that from the Federal Register 5 days later. However, here we are again with the federal court bringing that down. So don't lose heart, but be ready to show up and continue showing up until we never see another video again like the killing of George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or the stories like Breonna Taylor. We just have to keep showing up. So in order to have that kind of long-term stamina, we're going to need to take care of ourselves and nurture each other, and that means we're going to need to find joy where we can, and we're going to need to take breaks and listen to some healing music like is coming on Saturday. And I've seen Nellie's playlist, and I've listened to a couple of the videos she's uploaded, and I think it's perfect for the time right now. So I would encourage people to come out and get some of that healing. So if we were doing this the way it was intended when we booked this show a year ago, before we knew there was going to be coronavirus, it would be in my Colorado backyard. And if you've never been to a house concert, it's really a lovely way to listen to music. It's my favorite way. It's an intimate setting. There's no barrier between the stage and the audience. You hear the stories behind the songs. You meet the performer and get your CDs signed. And it may be, like it is for me and my friends, it may be your new favorite way to listen to live music. The bad news is we're not going to get to do it that way. The good news is we have tried to duplicate that as much as we can. And since we're doing it online as a video, people from all over the country can participate. And we've tried to choose the time so it's not too late on the East Coast and we can get together with the performer afterwards for a Zoom gathering. So that's part of meeting the performer, which is hard to do the way we're doing it online. Other choices we've made, we've chosen to pre-record the show so we give you full high-quality video and audio resolution, and we preserve the real-time interaction with the performer because she'll be there online commenting on the YouTube link in real time when we're watching it together, as you will. So we're trying to give you the best of all of that, and then we'll have this real-time interaction afterwards with a Zoom gathering. So house concerts are always a little quirky. Each one's different, and that's true for Little Tree as well. We have things we do at every show, and I'm about to do them since this is the intro to the show. We have promises that we make to you. These are pledges. The first is that it's always about the music, and what that means when you come to a show, it's pin drop quiet, it's a bona fide concert. And the second promise is it's always awesome. We always showcase world-class performers, and that's no different in this case. And when you listen to Nellie Clay, her voice and her playing and the people who accompany her, you will be shocked at the people who tour and play in living rooms and backyards. So those are two promises. The third promise is all the money you donate to the performer goes into the performer's pocket. And also in this case, as a fundraiser, that's true also with the Greenwood Cultural Center. What that means is when PayPal takes out its fee for providing its service, the concert series pays that back and makes it whole again, so the donation you intend to make happens. And you help me do that if you tip the series. Some people will donate also to Little Tree, and that's what I do with it. If you donate more than $25, I'm going to give you a gift, like a coffee mug or a tote bag or something like that. And then any that's left over, I normally put in the pocket of the musician. This time I'm going to put it in the pocket of GCC. So this is not a money-making endeavor for me. This is my way of supporting the arts. And you help me do that when you tip the series. So in addition to the promises, we also have traditions. One tradition, and you can see behind me, is everybody who plays at the series signs the concert poster. Now we've had 11 years of concerts. That's what you see in the signatures and the love notes that the artists write. We're in the 12th year. All of these shows have been online, so I'm going to have to chase these people up and get their signatures. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm just going to invite them back when we can gather again, and I'll get them in real time in the normal way. So that's the first tradition. The second tradition is we always have rum cake. We have no idea why we do this. We just happen to have it at the first show, and people asked for it at the second show, and then asked for it at the third show. And then it just became a thing we did at every show. So I'm an expert at making rum cakes without even having to think about it. I've made over 200 in the 11 years of concerts. The third tradition is I always read the first sentence from The Education of Little Tree. That's a book written from the perspective of a 5-year-old Cherokee Indian boy. And he says, as this first sentence, he says, "Grandma says when you come on something good, first thing to do is share it with whoever you can find. That way the good spreads out to where no telling it will go," which is right. Now that's doubly true for this concert, because when you learn what the Greenwood Cultural Center does, There's a whole lot of good going on there, in them carrying the flame for important history that happened in our country there. And it's totally, I enthusiastically support the GCC, and you should do that too. And then also the good we're spreading around is Nellie Clay music. I'm going to tell you a little about Nellie Clay. She is really something special. You will enjoy her. So she was born and raised in Oklahoma, where she is back now. But in the meantime, she's made her rounds. She spent 10 years in Minneapolis. Now, I know I misspoke in a previous post and said New York City. That was a brain hiccup because I knew she was in Minneapolis. She told me stories about living there. She told me she lived one block over from the Lake Street protest that turned into a riot that burned down some buildings. That was just one block over from where she lived. So the events happening there in George Floyd's death are land closer to home to her than a lot of us. So when she was in Minneapolis, she's trained as a fine artist. She was doing artwork. She was a conservator for a museum there. She restored historically important artwork. She taught art classes. That was that life. And then a trip to Alaska stretched out into unexpectedly 9 years, including wintering over. So she saw the beauty of the aurora and the night sky without light pollution, the strength of nature that had to be honored there. And one thing that happened to her in Alaska was she was forced to sing around the campfire like all the other hardy folk who winter over there. And then she and others discovered this powerful, beautiful singing voice that makes everybody get quiet and listen. And then when she started writing, she discovered her pen was as powerful as her voice. So that started this new career. I just love her voice. It's when she talks, she's got this syrupy Southern accent that reminds me of my boyhood in New Orleans. So there's something special and resonant for me. When she sings, I just love to close my eyes and drink it in. And I suggest you do it that way too. So she went from Alaska with this music career all of a sudden to Nashville. She was there for 3 years. She played all the Music City venues and she toured the country before landing back in her childhood home in Oklahoma. And today she's in Okemah, which is the birthplace of Woody Guthrie, where there's an annual Woody Guthrie Folk Festival, where she is a perennial favorite. She plays every year there. She's playing this year, even though they're doing it online because of the virus. She's invited back. And the reason that happens is she has a lot of things in common with Woody Guthrie, and it shows up in her writing like in his. So one is he was famous for being a rugged rambler and living in all kinds of places. And I just told you about her travel, so that's true for her. He was also an unapologetic advocate for human rights and civil rights at a time when it wasn't particularly popular. He had a sign he taped to his guitar that said, "This machine kills fascists," and he was unabashed about sharing that. And so her values and his values, you can hear in their lyrics, are the same. But also because Woody came first and was an influence on her, sometimes she plays off of his lyrics. So for example, he's famous for writing "This Land Is Your Land." He said he did it because he was tired of hearing "God Bless America." I think that's a great example of, when our national narratives need some updating, we turn to our artist to do that, and he served up for us on that one. And so I'm going to read to you some lyrics from a Nellie song, "Oh America," which is a song about the hidden wounds of soldiers returning from war and how we have to support each other in tending to our wounds. It also describes some of what we're going through today in the country right now. So she sings, "Oh America, bless your heart, you are suffering, you are falling apart. If love can't find us all and make a brand new start, I fear the fight will fall to the blind and cold at heart." We just can't let that happen. We have got to keep showing up till we never see again videos like we've seen of George Floyd and others. "This land is your land, this land is my land, and broken soldier boys need a gentle hand. Courageous cowgirls, we can take a stand. Hold on, please hold on. I'm going to include a link to that song, and I encourage you to listen to it, really drink it in. It's beautiful. I'm also going to read to you some lyrics from another song from Kind Love, because I think they're especially relevant right now. They say, "This old world is going to break your heart. I don't have to tell you all the ways it can and will fall apart. What are we going to do, friend, when it feels so bad? Give kind love, sweet love, real love. Friends and neighbors, family and total strangers need love, kind love." So that was visceral for me when I was at Standing Rock. It was incredibly powerful, and I think that is a whole lot of what the world needs right now. I think we're going to have to figure out how to listen to each other with the intention of understanding, and I think we're going to have to figure out how to have compassion even for the people we disagree with, because what we're doing right now is not working, and I don't think it can work. So I think this is an especially good time to listen to some Nellie Clay music and get some of that healing love we need so we can keep up our strength, so we can continue fighting as long as we need to. So that's your intro to the Nellie Clay concert. Please share it with people since it's going online a day ahead of time, and encourage them to donate to the GCC, to come to the concert, and then the stage is yours, my dear. Saturday, tomorrow, 5:30 West Coast time, 8:30 East Coast time, 7:30 Oklahoma time, 6:30 Colorado time, where I am. Thank you, everyone, for participating.